Name is Dave Edwards. I work at True at Heart Tattoo, Huntington Beach. I've been tattooing since 2008, and it's my lifelong passion. I think I was probably like 5, 6 years old. I started drawing Simpson characters, and I would draw it and draw it and draw it so many times until I finally can get it perfect. I think I drew Homer probably like 1,000 times just to try to get him exactly perfect. And back then, you didn't really have like things that you could reference from magazine or anything. I'd put on the TV show and watch it and try to draw it from that. So that's how I kind of started. And then, as I was in middle school, we started doing like graffiti and things. That kind of helped and fed into it. And then, like I said, about just end of junior high school, I saw a guy doing like Cherry Creek Flash, like the old, Grim Reapers and roses and putting flames on everything. And I would just do that constantly. It just drew me in, is what art I liked. I don't know why. I just loved everything about tattoos, and the fact that they're so like powerful. It's almost like religion. Literally every tattoo I've ever gotten, or anybody's ever gotten, it's a memory trapped in time in their skin. It literally just, you can look back at it like a photo album. So it's kind of like cliche and cheesy because everybody says it, but it's kind of a roadmap of your life, and you take it with you wherever you go. People can take anything from you, your money, they can take your family, anything can be taken from you, but nobody can take your memories. They're the most valuable thing in the world. You can't lose those. And once you have those memories and you have that education of how to do art and how to do solid tattoos, it goes with you for the rest of your life. Granted, you can kind of slip or plateau, but you still know how to do a trade. So it's something that is dear to me and very, very much a passion of mine. I moved to Huntington Beach in 2005. So before that, I lived all over the place. I was a gypsy. I was born in Utah. Lived there until I was like 8. Moved to Victorville, High Desert until I was about 18, 19. Moved down to the LA area. Worked at Disneyland. Worked a bunch of other odd and end jobs that just never seemed to work out. And moved to Huntington Beach in 2005. But that's when I took off then to Europe, and then came back from Europe, and my home that I had, I ended up letting my sister live in it. So she lived in it for quite some time, and I was married and had a kid, so I was moving all over the place. And then just one day I decided I was going to be a tattoo artist, that this is what I was going to do. Quit my job at the bank and ended up getting a divorce over leaving it because it's what I wanted to do. The person I was married to didn't want to be married to a tattoo artist. So yeah, it was, I wanted to be a tattoo artist for a long time. I mean, back when I was like 18, 19, I was hanging around old shops like Ghost Stories in Fullerton and getting tattooed and meeting tattoo artists, but it just never really kind of put together. And then kind of just put it on the back burner of like, maybe it's just not meant to be. Had a kid, so had to do what you had to do to be a father and take care of a family. And I ended up, just finally realizing this is what I was meant to do. I was literally working at Wells Fargo in the phone bank and drawing while I was answering phone calls all day long. And just finally one day said, no, I need to do what I want to do. I'm not happy. Got a, stupid tattoo kit from offline and really didn't do anything right. So then started progressing into looking for an apprenticeship, which is what you need. Going through an apprenticeship is so key and important because, number one, they're there to guide you and help you, but they're going to make sure you don't make all the dumb mistakes they made. So they're there to teach you and save you a lot of time of trying to figure it out yourself. The second tattoo I did, I somehow flipped the Thermofax paper and hand traced it off and did it backwards. And it was kanji, so I had no clue. And I tattooed on a really good buddy of mine. And after I got finished with the tattoo, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm sorry, it's backwards. And it was that gentleman's very first tattoo. So when he was looking in the mirror, of course it looked right. It looked like it was going the right way because the mirror flips the object. So he was upset at me for quite some time, but slowly got over it. And even to this day, it's the one tattoo he won't let me touch up or cover up. I know, like, the third tattoo I did was a Red Hot Chili Peppers logo, and I did the whole thing with like a single needle. I touched that thing up like 3 or 4 times, finally gave up on it, and to this day, he's got a full sleeve from me with all kinds of cool bands, and I touched up everything. Everything looks good now, but he still won't let me touch that Red Hot Chili Peppers one up because it's kind of a fun way to show the progression of where I came from. One thing I would have said, as soon as you knew you wanted to be a tattoo artist, go for it. And definitely key is you don't go around asking for apprenticeships. You go around to shops and get tattooed, make friends, ask if they could use some help, take the trash out, answer phones, be more of a hang around. When you come in asking for apprenticeship, it's an automatic turn off. Yeah, people don't want to even talk to you because they're getting that question 15, 20 times a day. So just go and hang around with some people. I had several people that were really cool and actually kind of, now I look back on it, extended a hand of help and was like, hey, you know, we don't need an apprentice, but you're welcome to come hang out here anytime you want. And that was the green flag that we'll help you, but we're just not going to lock you into an apprenticeship and offer you one. And I was just naive and I was going around begging for apprenticeships, but especially back then, that was just annoying him. You know, it was just making him upset. So I would say, you know, maybe just keep drawing. I mean, I was drawing when I was trying to get an apprenticeship. I was drawing like 8 to 10 hours a day constantly. You never saw me not draw, but that was before cell phones and all kinds of other distractions. For me, drawing was an escape. It was when things were awkward and I had anxiety. It was somewhere I can escape to and go into my own head and get away from the rest of the world. It was my therapy. So I didn't have a lot of toys and stuff, you know, growing up. So for me, art was my toy. That was my way to entertain myself. That was a way that, you know, I never really watched TV or did anything else. So I would just sit and draw and draw and draw what I thought would be a cool, I don't know, you know, toys to play with and action figures and scenes and stuff. So I definitely would have told my also self just to keep going with it and drawing, that to never give it up, you know. You kind of get lost as a veteran tattooer. You do so many tattoos that you forget that it is an art form. It's not a science. So no matter how good you get, no matter how far you go, you always can be better, and everything feeds into it. Doing better at portraits makes you better at traditional. Doing better at traditional makes you better at portraits. Doing watercolor tattoos makes you better at traditional tattoos or trash polka tattoos. Everything feeds into it as long as you're doing things artistically. So, I mean, I did photography when I was in art school, and I absolutely loved it. Loved doing film and dark rooms and things like that, but unfortunately when I got out of college I kind of lost that because I couldn't find a dark room. But that alone, just learning how to sharpen your eye and see good angles and how to make things look interesting and tell a story just by one picture, that's all we're trying to do with everything. I started in 2008. I bought that kit and sat on it for like 3 or 4 months and never touched it. Just watched videos and things like that, trying to learn how to tattoo. And this gentleman came up to me and approached me that knew I had it, and he had a swastika tattoo on him, and he was going to prison and figured he was going to get killed by the Peckerwoods, so he wanted it covered. I definitely happy to oblige him. And I just free-handed this little Joker hat on this skull that had a swastika on it. and covered it up. And then after that, my sister and family, close friends started supporting me, getting tattooed by me. For a long time, I actually would pay them to let me tattoo them, you know? So several years was doing that where I was like, hey, let me give you like $50 and I'll tattoo you, you know? And then slowly progressed into, hey, they'd buy me dinner and a 12-pack. I was happy with that. So just a tattoo. And, you know, I didn't make any money at the first shop I apprenticed at. Barely made any money at the second. Really didn't start making money until I was fully finished with the apprenticeship at 8th Element. And that was about 2 years. And then I started becoming a professional tattoo artist, doing good tattoos, or I should say passable tattoos, back in about 2014. My very first tattoo was in like 2008. When I first started, like, tattooing was taboo. People weren't doing it. It wasn't big. The TV shows weren't really out. I think they maybe had one or two, but it was still really underground and taboo. To where now it's Main Street, and I can't run into somebody without everybody wanting an apprenticeship. Everybody wanting to be a tattoo artist. But it's definitely not an easy gig. It's tough. I'm still trying to learn. One of my first, people that took me under their wing said, tattooing, you never arrived. You just enjoy the journey. You're never going to make it. You're never going to be where you want to be. You just keep progressing and growing. And now, as long as I've been in it, the statement rings more true that you can never be happy where you're at, because once you are, you're going to stop learning. So you got to constantly keep pushing yourself, pushing your edge, pushing it to get better, pushing your art, doing everything you can. Where I've definitely, kind of slowed down on drawing and painting, which I wish I didn't, but it just kind of, you got busy tattooing, doing walk-ins, doing your appointments. By the time you're done with that, you don't feel like sitting down and drawing, but that's part of being a professional artist. You need to push through it and keep going. So my goals for the future is definitely to get more back into the artistic aspect of it and watercolor paint, do all kinds of artistic things that just help it all around. Anything you do artistic helps and feeds into tattooing and into your career. But you can't get stagnant and think that, that you don't need to learn anything, because that's when 20 people that want it more than you are going to pass you by. And if you want to stay on top of your game, you got to keep pushing it. American traditional black works. It just makes sense to me, and I just love it. I love the trick of being able to do the entire tattoo only using black ink. It's definitely an acquired skill. It's acquired skill to be able to simplify an image to make it look traditional without tricking it out and doing all the fancy whistles and bells. So I love doing anything traditional color or black and gray, or black, I should say. But really, I try to take on everything. Anybody that throws anything my way, I try to do it. The only thing I'll turn away is like portraits of people I don't know. If somebody wants a portrait of their grandma or their aunt and uncle that I've never met, it's really hard for me to capture that soul in their picture. There's a lot of amazing artists. One like my buddy Samurai, he can just literally see a picture and replicate it completely, and that is just an acquired skill. There's all kinds of artists out there, and I've always been more of a creative artist, so it's hard for me to follow a roadmap. I like to do my own thing and make my own changes and do my own style to it, where if you're doing a portrait, you can't do that. You got to follow that map exactly, or it doesn't look anything like the person is supposed to. I mean, I want to do portraits. I want to do it all. I don't want to turn down any tattoos. Whatever walks in that door, I want to be able to handle it. And I have been working on it. I work on it on paper, and, I work on like fake skin with it, but I'm just not at a point where I'm ready to do it on a human skin that's going to be there permanently. So right now I stay with animals, flowers, insects, things that are a little more forgiving. I do like horror portraits, comic book character portraits, cartoon portraits, which aren't really a portrait, but it's still replicating an art that's already been made. So I just focus on doing that and just taking it one step at a time. I'm my own competition, nobody else's. So I just like to keep pushing myself in a direction that is bettering me and my style of art. Definitely, keep your head on the prize. Don't get caught up, because being a tattoo artist is a lot of wild things that come your way. It's a fun job, but it's still a job. And it's not easy. It's not as easy everybody would be tattooing. It's hard. It's hard to get into. It takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of, focus. You definitely need a lot of self-discipline. You got to, if you're out all night partying, drinking, and not doing your drawing for your next day appointment or whatever, that's only going to hurt you in the long run. The more effort you give and draw and lay out your design, the more successful, the more better of a tattoo artist you're going to become. Right now, I use the FK. It's a FK Flux. It's a wireless machine. I love it. It's a nice hard packing machine. It definitely puts it in real quick. Not a lot of extra work. However, with me, just the way I tattoo aggressively, I prefer to I want to get a Bishop wand, power wand. It's a little bit more softer and forgiving. I feel like I get better. I've used a few, and I feel like I get a lot better, smoother blends and a little bit softer looking fresh tattoos. Right now, my tattoos are healing great, and they look smooth when they're healed, but while they're fresh, they look a little irritated and red, and that bums me out, because I learned on a Cheyenne pen how to do black and gray, and my black and gray was always looking really nice and smooth, and I want to get back to that. So definitely think that Bishop wand is an awesome machine, but once again, that's also just like a personnel on every tattooer. I do recommend to younger generations, if they're getting into it, get one machine and learn how to use that, because all machines will do all kinds of different things. And if you got 12 different machines, you're never going to figure out what does what. So get to know one machine and then just keep that. Don't try to switch and get 20 different machines. I made that mistake, and I kept thinking that the machine would do the job for me. But no, it's all about your technique and how you apply it. There's people over in other parts of the country, or even say in prison, using a guitar string and a Walkman, doing stellar, amazing tattoo work. It's mostly about your technique and knowing your machine, knowing what it does to the skin, also learning people's skin and how to basically get the machine to do what you want with other types of skin, because nobody has the same skin. So you got to really know your machine in and out and what it can do and what it can't do. Being self-employed is tough. Every single day you wake up, you got to go find a job. You don't have a guaranteed job. You don't have guaranteed people coming in. You might have appointments and have deposits. Those aren't even guaranteed. People reschedule and move around. With tattooing, a lot of it is a very spontaneous thing, and if you don't act upon it quickly, you will lose those opportunities. So the way I look at it is every day I wake up and I got to go find a job and find as much jobs as I can to pay the bills. There's no retirement in tattooing. The best thing you can do is own a shop and have some kind of residual income, but that's not even easy. That's a very tough gig to run. It's almost like a marriage. You own a shop, you got to be there all the time, working hard at it. And yeah, you don't have a 401k, you don't have a retirement. I mean, my retirement plan is keep tattooing until I can't, and I don't think that day is ever going to come, but obviously at some age you're not going to be able to tattoo, and it is a young man's sport, but you don't think about that. You live one day at a time. You never promise tomorrow, so you don't focus on that. You just focus on the job at hand, which is going out, finding people to get tattooed, and tattoo them. But the best part about it is you make the most amazing relationships with people that go with you the rest of your life. Some of my clients have turned into like some of my best friends. Like I've had people that have been tattooing 10 years and covered their whole body, and they call and check up on me daily. Like I'm not in the business for the money, the fame, the glory, the women, or anything else, because none of that is always going to be coming. The reason I'm in it is the relationships I build with my coworkers, with the owners, with my clientele. John DeAnda, the owner of True at Heart, has been literally kind of like a life coach for me. And he's completely guided me and helped me and always been there for me no matter what I've ever done. So it's a lot of respect there, and that's the kind of things that keeps me coming back, is I'm more concerned about that than how much money I'm going to make or anything else. I mean, who doesn't want to make good money, support their family, and buy all the things they want? But money comes and goes. It's the memories and the relationships you build that stick with you forever. It's pretty expensive. I mean, we have a huge list of supplies that we have to use. Overall, I've added it to about $500 to $600 a month in supplies. Back before the coronavirus, it was expensive, but since the coronavirus happened, obviously it's supply and demand. A box of gloves went from $10 a box to $35 a box. Tattoo equipment prices went up. Everything went up. So a lot of artists are increasing their prices, and it's understandable. Like they got bills to pay. We've spent several years learning our craft and honing our craft, and a lot of time and effort. You're not necessarily paying for the tattoo. You're paying for the dedication and hard work that the artist has put into their craft to give you the best quality of tattoo they can. If they don't, then you'll know. I mean, it's one of those things, like if a tattoo's done well and correctly, it doesn't even really need to be taken care of. It'll heal just fine on its own. And it should heal quickly on its own. If it's been overworked or underworked, it's going to fall out, or it's going to blob out, or it's going to scab up, or it's going to do something, So to be able to do a tattoo where you get done with it and your clients don't even take care of it and never need a touch-up, that's when you know you're doing it right. But I also buy what I'm comfortable with. I buy the best of the best, Like if I'm lining something, I only use Cheyenne because I always get nice line work with them. Shading, I can use all kinds of different brands, and it seems to do the trick as long as you inspect your needles and make sure they're not barbed or janky. But, you definitely want to spend that extra money on line work, because line work's one of the most important parts about the tattoo. It's the foundation. It's like building a house. If you don't have a strong foundation, the rest of the house, no matter how cool you do it, it's going to look like crap. So it's very important. Most places are either 50-50, 60-40, Some shops will charge 50-50 and give you all your supplies, and that's real cool. There's some shops will charge you 50-50 and they'll steal your supplies. So it's basically on shop to shop. You can do booth rental, but booth rental's tough because whether you had a slow month or not, that rent's due. On a split, at least, you're getting money each time, but you're splitting out 50% to the shop. So it's really tough to, when you tell people, hey, yeah, that tattoo is going to be $600, and they're like, oh wow, you're just taking, no, well, I'm only getting 300 of that, and say 65 of it's going towards supplies. At the end of the day, I'm making $200, and I just spent all day working on you. And that might be 2 or 3 days before you see another client, depending on the artist. So it's hard to maintain. You definitely need to be really good with money and budget and plan accordingly. Plus, you have taxes at the end of the year that you got to come up with, and that's another huge expense that you got to come up with. So it's definitely difficult. Like I said, it's like any other job that everybody wants to do, acting, rapper, or anything else, in the way that everybody wants to do it. But the hard work is not what they see. They just see the other side, the light at the tunnel, where I've never met anybody just jump into the game and completely just start doing amazing tattoos. There's been some artists that have picked it up pretty quick, but it's because they had pretty good apprenticeship. Clients shouldn't come in trying to tell us how to do our job. We're the professionals. We've taken time doing it. It's frustrating when somebody's looking down at their arm and like, oh, are you going to do this? Are you doing that? Are you going to do this? Are you going to shade it here? Are you going to shade it there? Are you going to put this there? I understand it's their body and they're concerned and they want it done right, but they should have done their homework first and made sure that they like the gentleman or the female's style. If they see their work and can see what they've done, then they should have complete trust. It's really sketchy to go in and not trust somebody and let them permanently mark your body and have no clue on what you're going to get out of it. So definitely take a look at what they're doing. See what they're about. See if you vibe with them. I've seen it where people could be an amazing artist, but they don't vibe with their client, and then ends up not coming out, nice, because it is an art form, not a science, so if they're not feeling it and they're not in a good mood and they're being told what to do, it might not come out as good as it could have if they just let them do their thing. Let the artist be an artist. That's what they're there for. I would definitely recommend checking out their portfolio, looking for healed pictures of their portfolio, because sometimes tattoos could be fresh and look stellar, but then once they heal, they don't look so great. So definitely try to check out some healed work of them. You definitely want to, make sure you get along with the person. I've heard of some stellar artists doing really amazing work, but they didn't say 2 words to their client, and the client never wanted to go back to them, even though it was top of the line, world-class, amazing work. So it is kind of like a dog and pony show. You got to kind of put on nice smile and talk to them, interact with them. Find a friend with every single person you meet. Even if they're frustrating or a difficult client, there's still money to be made, and all it takes is a little patience. Maybe instead of finding the things that you don't like about them, find the things that you do like about them and hold on to that. With that, I just kind of explained to them, like, hey, it's your body. I'll place it wherever you like, however you like. However, certain areas don't hold ink well, and I can't guarantee that it's going to stay well. That's going to be up to you and, let how it heals. So if you really want it, I'll do it, but I'm not saying it's going to heal out nice. There's certain parts of the body that just don't take tattoos well. So I just try to discuss that. I also discuss distortion, because it is on a body, it's moving. It's not a flat piece of paper that doesn't move. I try to explain to them, you're going to have distortion in this area. If that's where you want it, fine. But don't be upset if it's, going to move on you as you flex your muscles or get bigger muscles or whatever. It's going to happen. I also try to, let them know that, it's pretty much on them, I'm happy to do whatever you like. I can just here to suggest. But I've seen a billion tattoos. I've done thousands of tattoos, and I know what works and what doesn't work. So once again, it just comes down to trust. If you trust your artist, you should totally listen to everything that they have to advise, because they don't want to do a bad tattoo. Their name follows that tattoo wherever it goes, and they don't want a bad reputation, so they're only trying to give you good advice. There are certain areas that are harder to tattoo. And if they tattoo it and it doesn't come out well, it sometimes could be the location. Yeah, I've noticed that once I started getting visible tattoos, people looked at me different. When my tattoos were all covered and nobody could see them, I could walk into a convenience store and nobody even looked at me twice. Now I walk into a convenience store, I have the store owner usually following me around. So it's still a stigmata out there where people do judge you because of the way you look. I have a lot of people that look at me and first thing they think is I'm just a huge jerk and I'm rude and I'm egotistical, but no, that's not me. Like me, don't even see my tattoos until I see a picture of me and I realize that they're there. But they're all a part of me, so I accept them, and I'm not ashamed of any single one of them. But they definitely do. People will look at you different. I mean, going home to meet your girlfriend's mom and dad, it's never an easy situation when you look like I do. You're automatically judged. And honestly, most people make a judgment call within the first 30 seconds of a person, and they stick with that no matter what. In the first 30 seconds of meeting me, they usually have a pretty bad reputation. But my job is to change their mind. I've ran into some issues. I've gotten put in jail for it. I've gotten different things when I've done nothing. I've gotten pulled over just for driving down the road. I've had guns pulled on me. But then there is some that are really cool, and as soon as they find out I'm a tattoo artist, they ask for a business card. So that's going to go on the individual police officer and where they stand. Some are like, oh, hey, he's just a normal guy that loves art, and he's a tattoo artist. Of course he's covered. There's others that they'll ask me, like, hey, where'd you serve time at? And it's like, none of these tattoos were done in prison, like they've all been done in a shop. So there's, it's just like any human beings out there. There's your good seeds, your bad seeds. There's your judgmental people. There's your polite people. It's just all on every individual person. I can't kind of lump it into a hole and say, oh, they all are this, because I've met some really cool ones. I mean, I'm pretty good friends with a lot of the police officers down on Main Street in Huntington Beach, and they treat me, because they see me all the time, like a normal human being. But then there's some times where I can be driving or going somewhere, and they'll pull me over just because they want to see what the heck I'm up to. So I think it just depends on the individual police officer and where they stand. Some people just, I've always said that there's a difference. There's a difference between people that are tattooed and non-tattooed. The difference is people that have tattoos can care less if you have none. But people that have none usually do have a tendency to judge you for having them. So it's a usual. It's not always. There are always different people out there, but I have noticed that. You know what I mean? And things are changing, though. I mean, I seen just a few weeks ago at Disneyland, people had visible tattoos. I just saw an Amazon driver had face tattoos when he was delivering a package. So things are changing. 10 years ago when I started and I got face tattoos, I couldn't have got a job to save my life other than tattooing. But that's all I wanted to do, and that was one of the reasons I got face tattoos. It's kind of a way of saying there's no going back. No, I just appreciate all my clients, all my friends, everybody that has believed in me and pushed me, my family, close friends that kept me going when I was, in my first beginning years and thought that I couldn't do it. So gratitude the people that are helping me now, and that no matter what mistakes I make, they forgive me and keep pushing me back and keep pushing me forward, and they do it in a constructive criticism way, not a I'm trying to hold you down way. I don't like people that are, egotistical and think they're above you or whatever. Everybody has their own roadmap of how they became a tattooer, and it's different with every single person. So no one has the right to tell what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right. You can offer advice of maybe how to be better, but there's no wrong way or right way to tattoo. You just got to figure your way out. I mean, a lot of the guys that I've worked with, you know, Ryan Rosanelli, Blake Bam. I mean, a lot of younger cats. We have an apprentice named Caleb here that's just killing it. Those guys all are what's making me push myself harder because, you know, I got to keep up with them. There's a lot of amazing artists out there that are just doing stellar work, and, you know, they've been tattooing way less than me. Well, I got to keep up. So I like it. They push me. They make me want to be better. They make me want to try harder. They make me want to improve. You know, I actually look up and admire most of the younger generations that are coming out and killing it. And, you know, they had different situations than me. They didn't have to fight to get into an apprenticeship and go through all that I had to go through. And, you know, and that's good for them. And they're able to start out on the right leg, where me, I had to unlearn bad habits and learn good habits and try to learn how to do things, you know, the correct way. And it's been a struggle, but that struggle I absolutely love, because that's what's going to make me never quit. I worked so damn hard to get where I'm at. I would never want to stop. Like, it's what I've done. It's been a long, hard road and a lot of work, and when you do that much work and put that much effort and it doesn't just come naturally and easy to you, I feel like you're never going to give up. And I know a lot of those guys, like I mentioned, they've had rough roads and everything else, and I don't think they're going to give up. But I do see a lot of younger generations that they get it real easy and they're just naturally talented, and then it becomes boring to them. Well, for me, it's like every tattoo I do, I go in trying to do the best goddamn tattoo I can do. And so that's what keeps me going. I don't get bored with it. It's not a question of, oh, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. There's no doubt, it's 100% in my mind that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I don't even look at, there is no retirement. There is no stopping tattooing. The day I stop tattooing is the day that my heart stops beating. That I'll do whatever it takes. I'll get a mechanical arm and make it work.